On this episode of the Create Podcast, we have Gless Ranch here in Riverside, California. We sat down with Jason and Betsy. Their parents started Gless Ranch way back in 1958. We got to hear more of the story of how they started it and how it's developed over the years. Amazing, incredible story. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's just such an iconic fixture in Riverside that's been here forever. It was cool to hear about these siblings that worked together. Jason is an attorney and kind of did other things and now is back in the family business. And Betsy actually drew the amazing Gless Ranch logo in the 70s on a piece of paper. Their mom sold fruit, started out selling fruit on Van Buren right here where the market is. Just an amazing story, just so many layers and so interesting.
Yeah, loved diving in with them and hearing just the passion that has from the beginning and how it's developed. If you haven't been to their market, we're actually here right now. It's on Van Buren. Amazing. The best way to describe it, honestly, is like a mini Trader Joe's. From obviously the fruits that they grow, they sell, to some of the products that they've developed beyond that, to Jason's kids making their own masks and handkerchiefs for dogs, dog treats, to Dissertation Soap. Our friend Julie, who was on the podcast, has a lot of her products here as well. And they even started brewing their own beer, partnered with a local Riverside brewery. I think they have 6 or 7 different beers, which I had no idea they even did that. We're going to be trying those tonight. Can't wait. So hope you enjoy this podcast. Make sure you check out their market, and I hope you enjoy listening to it and watching and hearing this story as much as we did.
This is the Create Podcast.
We're excited to obviously talk about, Gless Ranch. It's such an integral part of Riverside, and
Iconic.
So iconic. So when was excited to get you guys on and learn more of the history, and I know a couple years ago you guys opened the farmers market, right?
Yes, we reopened the farmers market. It's been there since 1977.
Yeah.
Oh, the year I was born.
And Star Wars.
Yes, we reinvented it.
And Star Wars.
Star Wars and my wife
Me
were born in
and Star Wars.
1977.
It was a good year for Mark Menezes that year.
I'm still the only person I know that's never seen Star Wars.
Yeah.
I've never seen the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's worth to go.
We've seen it a couple times.
Definitely, if you do though, definitely start with the Star Wars, the movie.
First.
Even though they have the prequels, don't start with the prequels.
Don't start there, yeah.
Got it.
Have to start
You have
with
to
them.
go like in chronological order of how they were filmed.
Yeah, how they were filmed and released.
Yeah. Don't
right.
start out of
So
order.
your guys' parents, right, started
Correct.
Gless Ranch back in the mid-50s?
1958.
58,
when they got married. Yes.
Yeah. And what was the origin, kind of the story of when they started it?
You may take that one. It actually goes back to probably the 1800s when what I assume would be our great-grandfather, Juan Pierre. There was 2 brothers that were sheep herders in downtown Los Angeles, and ultimately, I never knew them, but they sold whatever farm they had. One stayed in Los Angeles, one went to the El Toro area of Orange County, and that would be our great-grandfather who went to Orange County, who then, his son was John Pierre. So it was Juan Pierre, then John Pierre.
Yeah.
That was our grandfather who farmed a little bit of everything, is what I understand. You might know better than I.
Some citrus and row crops, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so that's the early origin. And then you probably know this better, but when my dad was 24
years old, yep.
His dad
Married
had
with a child and went on the way.
His dad, he was farming with his father in El Toro, which is now Rancho Santa Margarita, and had his father had some health issues, and packed up and quit farming, and left him with no land.
Yes, because my dad was farming on leased property, which he was leasing from his father. So now he was.
He's like, well, what do I do now?
Time to figure it out. So you can keep going with that one.
So he ended up doing some research and finding some ground up in the Woodcrest area, and decided that it was affordable, and he was going to make a go of it in Woodcrest, and was pretty much laughed at because you can't grow oranges in Woodcrest. No one had ever done it, although the Riverside downtown area was the prime farming area of the time. He couldn't afford the land there, so he decided to go to Woodcrest.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Worked with the university, which was pretty
advanced at the time, probably.
Forward thinking.
Yeah.
For him to be working with them to get it started. He actually then reached out to Metropolitan Water because there wasn't irrigation to the area, it wasn't water, and had the water brought in, paid to have the water brought in.
Is that why they said that you can grow it in Woodcrest? Because of lack of water,
I think
or
it was
the
the soil.
yeah?
It was primarily the soil. It was the granite soil instead of the fertile soil that was
Okay.
downtown Riverside.
Huh.
So they ended up creating some sort of plan that was before my time that ripped the soil and brought water in. They planted a grove.
Literally, he planted the grove.
He literally planted the grove.
Dug the holes, planted the first
Yeah.
grove on
20 acres.
Iris
Wow.
and Gamble.
Iris and Gamble is still there. So that's how we
Number
got started.
one. Grove number
And he
one.
named
I
it
know when I
Grove-
was reading on the website, I saw
Number
that it's
one.
called number one. That's so great.
Yeah, Grove number 1.
So, yeah.
So Grove number 1 took off 20 acres. So he bought more acreage down the street and called it Grove number 2.
Which is where his office still stands.
Which, yeah, and so that's...
Which most of he didn't own all of it. His parents owned part of it. Most of it was sold for housing, but he maintained a certain amount, kept his office there with a few trees around it. And
Yeah.
still works out of that. So, and then number 3, which is where the market began.
So then, yeah, probably 5 years later or so, as things started to take off, he bought more ground, keep going down Van Buren, which was a 2-lane road back then, and put in, I think they bought 100 acres at the
100
time,
acres.
with some partners, with various
Uh,
partners.
Yeah, 2 part. My mom's father and brother, actually. So
Oh, that's
I'm
cool.
the third of it.
Very family
Yeah.
business.
That was named number 3.
Very creative with
Real.
with the name.
So yeah, so the interesting part about that is that's where the market stands today.
That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are the first 3 groves that kind of got
And he
the thing
commuted
going.
from the city of Orange. We were born and raised in the city of Orange.
Yeah.
And in 1976, the commute became too much. And then shortly after, in 1977, unbeknownst to any of us, we were asked to hop in the car on a January day in 1977. And when we got to number 3 along Van Buren, we realized there was poster board and paint and bags, and we got to start the fruit stand. Jason was pretty little at the time. So,
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I drew pictures.
You did
Yeah.
pictures. I have
Pictures.
pictures of you drawing pictures. So
Also-
yes.
Yeah.
It sounds like much of my childhood. I remember one time I was probably in 7th grade, and it was beginning of summer, and we took a trip up to San Luis Obispo. My aunt and uncle lived up there. We were there for a few days, and we're packing up the car to leave. And my dad goes, "I'm bring my bag out to the car," and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Aren't we leaving?" He's like, "No, you're staying here and working for your Uncle Johnny all summer."
Like, wait a minute. But you were part of the conversation.
Yeah,
I think that was
no.
to this day, that's the funny part for me, is we had no idea what was going on that day.
Yeah.
And so yeah, high school and college and everything was spent. There were no weekends or afternoons off. We all worked, basically.
And 4
Yeah.
kids.
4 kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. And are you oldest and youngest?
One older brother.
Yeah.
And Jason's the baby, and
Yeah.
another younger brother too.
So fun. Ooh.
Yeah.
So what was the process from when they planted the first trees to actually having fruit that they were able to sell? Like, how long did that take? Was that
I think it's about 3 years.
About 3
from
years?
Planting to production. Is that
3 years,
accurate?
yeah, 3 years fruit will start growing. About 4 to 5 years is when it's in full harvest.
yeah?
So it takes about 4 or 5 years before the grove's in, like I said, full harvest, ready to bloom and go.
Okay. And then I guess they initially just where the market is, where they were first selling, just on the street, or what did that process look like to actually really selling them and bringing in profit?
You know, I think they lived off Banklands for years and years,
Yeah.
obviously. Most of the fruit gets harvested and put through packing houses, though.
Okay.
So they just my dad wanted to sell direct. They'd done that when they were newly married. He grew cantaloupe and watermelon and would drop my mom off in a street corner and she'd sell cantaloupe.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's like, this is a good idea. We're going to do
gonna
this
work.
again. We're going to reinvent the roadside stand. So.
Yeah, it started actually in the back of the station wagon,
Okay.
and then I don't know where he
photographic evidence of you in the back.
in the back of the station wagon, and then I don't know where he found there was a little orange trailer that he found somewhere, and brought it out and just left it on the side of the road, and then they'd fill that on the weekends, and ultimately through I don't even know what year, maybe 3-4 years down the road, as more and more people started getting by just buying direct and stopping on their way out to Palm Springs or wherever they were going,
Yeah.
because there was no highways back then, so you cut from the 91
Yeah.
to down Van Buren out to what was the old Highway 215. Was a prime little spot. People would stop and pick up their fruit.
Yeah.
So they
And,
ultimately
and
built
it
the
was
market.
working really well. So there was a lot of citrus in the area at that time, and so right along Van Buren, a couple other people set up like right by us. And you were asking about the logo, and so that's why my mom all of a sudden one day she comes in, she goes, we have to distinguish ourselves. Like, it's not just a bunch of roadside stands. And so we threw together our logo at the dining room table, or kitchen table, I guess, in about 10 minutes, and ran off to the silk screener and
it is
had a
amazing.
stamper made so we could stamp our bags and wear our T-shirts.
And about what year was that?
That was probably 1977 still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Maybe.
And so you just drew it on paper, like it was an original, like on paper.
Sketched it on a piece of white paper and ran it down to
Amazing.
the silk screener where they used to do it all by hand and
Yeah.
cut it with an X-Acto knife. And
Well, I was saying before we started, it's such a great logo that it looks like it could have been created this year. It's completely just.
Well, if you look real close, it's a little rough. It's still.
Which
I
I think
don't
that's
they've ever
what makes
really
it great.
It when you blow up that file, it's like, wow, it just still looks like a little sketch. So.
You're like, it's a drawing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were talking about font. I don't think it is a font.
Yeah.
I think
If
we
you
freehanded
guys
it.
look at
Somebody
it,
re- yeah,
you look
yeah.
at it, you can see where it was, kind of
It's
shaky in parts.
It's so great. I know my kids tease me because I write in all caps. Is like my handwriting is, which apparently is like a common photographer artist thing. And they're always like, "Why do you do that? It's so weird. You don't have any like all my E's are lowercase and my I's are lowercase, but the rest are all caps." I'm like, it's just like, I mean, as I look at it, I'm like, it's just like all lines up. It just looks neat. It just looks good. It works. Did you draw the oranges also? Then?
I think if memory serves, my older brother drew the Gless Ranch and I drew the oranges.
That's
I don't know.
amazing.
It's a little fuzzy.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
So great. You're like, I was just along for the ride.
I know I drew the oranges. He says he did the rest, but we'll see. Not
You're like,
sure.
I'll give it to him.
Not sure.
It's fine.
So,
What's the age range between oldest and youngest?
12 years.
12 years, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And do your other two siblings work within the company as well?
They do.
Yeah.
One farms, the other's been doing property management more recently, ran the farmer's market for years.
Yeah.
And has moved out of the area now, but is still involved.
That's so great.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm sure your earliest memories were being put to work constantly, yeah?
Of course.
So-
Especially Jason's.
Yeah, that was the biggest fear on weekends was if you woke up, there was one of two things were going to happen. You were either going to go play golf, or
We were gonna go play golf. I was going to the market.
I either got, hey, let's go play golf, or I need you to take the keys to my pickup. And if any sentence started out like that, it was going to be a rough weekend.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, that's amazing.
More often than not, I felt like I took the keys to the pickup and had to go
And
somewhere
off
to
you
do
go.
something.
at least you got to golf.
At least there was some payoff
There was no golf in my life. Oh.
And so did your mom run the market?
I think she was very much involved, but
Yeah.
I think my brothers and Jason and the four of us actually did that, and it kind of changed
That's
over
cool.
the years. But yeah, and so then it evolved over time. We had a cute little structure there for years and years.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you're familiar with that phase of it, but that's probably the most iconic part of it. And then about 2016, we realized it was really falling down.
Yeah.
So we kind of reinvented it.
Right.
It's in the same spot, right?
It's
yeah,
exactly the same spot where the
Is it
station wagon
Dufferin
was.
and
So great.
It's on Van Buren.
Van Buren? Okay.
What's
East
the
of
cross
Troutland.
street?
Closest is Barton.
Yeah.
Barton.
Okay.
Barton and Van Buren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a great way to grow up. Like I said, I have so many memories. My dad was kind of old school from that, time where you're a kid.
Well, you grew
were
up on a
just
dairy.
working. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
where at?
My grandfather ran a dairy off on Archibald in Chino,
Yes. So many people there at the time.
which I wish he would have still had. I think he got out of that business and he became actually a hay salesman, so he still worked with the dairies. But I think I was in fourth grade when that happened. But
So you understand what it means to be pressed into TV. Right?
yeah, so I never worked on the dairy because I was like right at that age. It was like fourth grade where we got out of it. It was just my playground.
Never had to
Oh,
take the
nice.
keys to the pickup.
I think you had to work when you were in third or fourth grade. I'm not sure.
I will tell you the first time I remember actually manning the front of the market was in 5th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was 5th grade, and I was working the cash register, and there was
Are there
myself
like
and one
laws
other
against
person.
that now, or
Yeah.
family members
Yeah.
will do that.
And I think of how young my kids are in 5th grade, and they're older now, and I thought, I remember the gentleman who I was there with didn't speak any English at the time.
Wow.
And it was me and him, and I would take the money in. There was no, it was all by mental math. There was no cash register or anything at the time.
No counter.
Yeah, and then he'd go and get us lunch, and it would just be me by myself.
Okay, well, I was a 15-year-old girl, and I was there a lot of times all day by myself. So yeah.
So that's how we got started. I mean, it was everyone kind of pitching in and doing whatever you could and whatever you were essentially told to do.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
It's such a good way to grow up, though. Like when I think it was 7th grade or so when my dad dumped me off at my uncle's house, and I did construction that whole summer. I remember the next day, wake up early and drive to the job site with my uncle, and he hands me a shovel and says, "This is going to be your best friend all summer." And he was.
You're like, yay!
Yeah, he definitely was not lying, but it's such a great way to grow up and to have those experiences. My grandfather, who he actually just passed this last year, we have 6 kids and 5 boys, and so the last 10 years he's always been like, you need to have a dairy, you need to get a farm. You have all these boys, like,
you guys need a farm for these boys
these
to work.
Boys, they're on computers, they need to be in the farm, they need to be milking cows, they need to be out doing that.
I know, we're always like, is there like a dairy we can drop them off at for the week?
Yeah.
Like, teach them some hard labor.
Yeah.
Hey,
So-
we can use them. Bring them
Yeah,
out.
we'll send them over. We'll drop them off with a shovel.
For sure, yeah. So, and you guys, outside of obviously just the oranges, you have other products as well, right?
Have you not been to our market yet? We were going to bring you. Okay, we're going to bring you some stuff, and our morning got derailed.
Yeah,
so we'll
I'm
follow
mostly
up.
asking for people that if they don't know or so.
Yeah, so we actually grow, we farm oranges, all citrus, oranges, tangerines, lemons, limes, grapefruit, kumquats, dates, and figs. So those are our main fruit market. Then we recently started our new beer line, which is what I was going to bring you, and it's sitting on the counter at the house. I apologize.
You're like,
ale.
I know
Craft
exactly
ale.
where it is.
I've heard great things about it. I haven't had it yet, but I've heard it.
I was going to bring you a
Making sure we
variety
get some
pack,
too.
and then we had an issue. It never stops. We had an issue with this morning that popped up, and we were discussing it in my driveway, and then got derailed, so I'll send it out.
But we had the opportunity with the new market we had such an increased lovely space that we decided we wanted to reach out to other vendors, local people in the community, manufacturing, making things.
Yeah.
And so our goal from the start was to bring in anybody that had a if you could make your product fit into the store and it was somewhat compatible, we would bring their merchandise into the store. And it's been really a great partnership with a whole lot of
I actually grew up with Julie Wrights, who does Dissertation Soap.
Yes.
And so every time I see her restocking there, I'm like,
I
that
know.
makes
She
me
does a
so
great job at our
happy.
store.
Yeah,
And,
she's the best.
And your Rail Brewing, who does our craft ales.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when we rebranded it the farmers market, we kind of took it from just a roadside produce market to more of a local store that you could get, like you said, Dissertation Soap, whatever kind of the local vendors are, and obviously all the fruit that we grow.
It's so smart.
Yeah, and then recently, as a result of the pandemic, essentially, we started just making cold calls to people we knew with local restaurants.
Yeah.
People that were struggling because they couldn't get the volume of business.
Yeah.
And so we brought a whole bunch of grab-and-go food in, and I think it's been great
wow.
for us, but I think it's also been really great
That's
for some of
so
these smaller
smart.
restaurants that have
Yeah,
been
we
kind
need
of
to get over
struggling
that.
through all
You're
the
still doing
changes.
that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great.
It's been so well received because people, there's nowhere to. Well, it's getting better, obviously, but people just want a little relief from cooking, so it's fun and interesting for the customers.
Yeah, there was a stretch there where I was like, if I have to make another meal in this house, I'm
and you'd
gonna
already
cry.
baked a kabillion loaves of bread because that
I've
was
had
that
my
phase
sourdough
2.
starter. Yeah, I was in it.
What restaurants are you guys working with?
Go ahead.
Oh, this is yours.
Okay. Well,
This
we
is yours.
have. Actually, this person reached out to us to start with. Mario from Olivia's Mexican restaurant had
we
reached
haven't
out
been there.
to put the salsas in our store, and we're like, "This is great, but what else can you guys do for us?
Yeah.
We need dinners and stuff." So they do tons of grab-and-go food, but it's all slightly different than what you could pick up at Olivia's restaurant.
That's cool.
Ancha's, we've been working with Ancha's Bar and Grill actually for a couple of years. They've done salsa and tortillas and things, but now they're bringing in entrees, Madlicious Catering, and Smoky Candy Barbecue.
That's cool.
So-
That's the one in Canyon Crest?
Mhm.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's kind of a little something for everybody.
I love that.
We have Creme de la Creme Bakery has been with us through all of this, bringing in amazing fresh bread, pastries, things like that. Again, Dissertation Soap and Ursi's Apothecary
Yeah.
for health and beauty
Just,
items.
body
so
stuff.
Lots of fun.
That's so great. Yeah, Julie's the professor scent that she has. I just have one of those
Oh,
soaps.
we don't
Like,
have that one.
oh, you'll have to have her bring it over because just having the soap like on our bathroom counter, every single time you walk into our room, it just like smells so. She does such a good job with her
She's
scents.
done some workshops out at our market
Yeah.
too. We have this fabulous covered patio space. So, in fact, Jason had taken it a step further, and the last one was on the day that all this kind of pandemic stuff hit, and had brought in local craft fairs and things like that, which
Oh,
was
cool.
hugely popular.
It was very popular at the time.
You're like, it is
our
less
last one-
popular now in the middle
We
of a
would
global
have 40
pandemic.
vendors, and people keep calling, when's the next one? Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, I
40
think-
vendors on the patio.
I think we had one in February with about 40 vendors, and
That
then
is
Wow.
amazing.
on March 14th was our last one,
Oh,
and
man.
we had about 40 signed up.
That was like the last day of school here, wasn't it?
That was the
the
Saturday
Saturday.
before.
So yeah,
Yeah, and so about half of the vendors went, I'm not sure.
yeah,
We said it's fine, just don't worry.
yeah.
And then that Monday, it
Yeah.
was quarantine.
The world closed.
But that Saturday was kind of the day it got real, even before the quarantine.
Yeah,
that
was it.
Because, all of a sudden, people were just flooding in to the store and buying
Yeah.
anything and everything inside.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
just
I
a
bet.
really surreal day.
Yeah, it's something that I think that we all are going to look back in 10 years and be like, that was so weird.
It was
Like that
very
was just
strange, but it was
such
kind of just a
the
little
toilet
foreshadowing
paper
that day.
situation. Yeah, I have like the
we
most.
still have
Yeah,
some
we
toilet
still have a
paper.
stash. I have the most vivid memory of buying masks for the first time. I bought them pretty early.
Yeah.
Goodwin's had them. We live in Canyon Crest, so I had heard that Goodwin's had one, so I went and I bought like one for each member of our family. And I totally like remember like thinking I was buying like apocalyptic. Like I'm like, there's a chance that we might need the, like, do I really need to buy one for each of our family members? Like, and now here we are, like, all wearing masks.
Well,
like,
now it's kind of a fashion statement.
Yeah.
So Jason, in the family tradition, although they're not working at the ranch, he's pressed his children into.
I've not pressed it.
I'm kidding. You should tell him what Jay and Bernie
Well,
are doing.
so I've got one who is 15 and one who's 13.
Yeah.
So there's no sports. Everything's shut down. They couldn't do anything over the summer. So my wife taught them to sew. So
That's
they've been
amazing.
sewing masks, and
That's
they've been
so
selling
great.
some at the market. They've been donating some. So they do a little bit of everything. But yes, it was great
That's
the other
so
day.
great.
My boy who's 13. I woke up on a Saturday morning, and he's got a sewing machine out, and he's sewing these little squares.
That is amazing.
But the best part of this story
It's a
was
long way from the soccer field.
So
Yeah.
that's the part where he wasn't getting paid as much because he didn't.
There was an argument between the two of them as to splitting the profit
Yeah,
because she was doing more work.
yeah.
So he jumped in. That was the next morning, I think, where he got up.
Learned how to sew.
He
Learned to
got
sew
up early to
overnight and
catch up.
borrowed Grandma's sewing machine so that he could keep pace.
He's
Catch
got
up.
that entrepreneurial
Yeah.
spirit happening.
Definitely.
That is so great.
That's such a good lesson to learn. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I need to do more.
Yeah.
'Cause I want more money.
What a novel concept.
So were your kids involved with the business as well? Prior to the pandemic, or I know they're younger, but they kind of stepped in and.
Not really involved in the business. I mean, they'll go out there on the weekends with me, and like when we do the craft fairs and things, they'll hang out and do whatever
But they're
they want to
manufacturing.
do.
They have a little manufacturing.
But yeah,
business.
so yeah. So actually they started with their dog cookies because my daughter saw, I think it was Ursi's actually that kind of got her attention.
Yeah.
That she was like, well, they're selling things, and can I bake something? I said, well, we have to get a license.
Yeah.
So we ended up settling on dog cookies. So she
which
makes,
are hugely popular.
Yeah.
Popular
Yeah.
pastries,
I bet.
yes.
yeah, so the two of them bake dog cookies probably once a week and take them out to the market.
is
That's how they got
awesome.
started, and then the masks came later, and then they bought extra fabric, so they're doing dog bandanas for your dogs now.
That's awesome. You
So-
can match your dog.
You can
That's a
match your
great
dog.
idea.
Yeah, you can get your face covering to match your dog. Yeah,
That is so great.
Do they have a
Love
name
that.
for their little business? Or?
Puppers Pastries.
Nice.
That's
Yes.
so great.
Do they have?
Available exclusively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's ranch. What are the components in a dog cookie biscuit?
I think it's proprietary.
You don't have to tell me that, but just like, I don't even know.
It's pretty. I think it's whole wheat flour, peanut butter. Actually, there's so their twist is they have whole wheat flour, peanut butter. I can't remember. I think it's oats, an egg.
Yeah.
And then rather than use water, they use citrus juices. So they'll
Their
the flavors. There's lemon,
That's so
lime,
great.
grapefruit, and orange.
That's awesome. So it's probably the peanut butter that the dogs are excited
The dogs
about.
like the peanut butter, but yes, they do make them.
Citrus.
Yeah.
Right? They did their research too to make sure dogs could eat citrus. And they found out that
right.
actually citrus is very healthy for dogs. So they're very
Oh,
excited
that's
to find
great.
that out. So they substitute their water for citrus.
We have 2 dogs, and our 10-year-old is like, you know how the rest of us used to like grow up like looking in encyclopedias for information. He just goes on YouTube. So he's like a endless source of. He's like, remember in Jerry Maguire, the kid is like, the human head weighs 8 pounds. It's like a constant stream of information from Thatcher. So the other day he's like, did you know that grapes are toxic to dogs?
Yes.
Like
that's
if
true.
if dogs eat 2 grapes, they can like have major complications. So that's good to know that they can eat citrus, and it's actually good for them.
Citrus is fine. Not avocados though.
That's true.
Yeah.
Which I think I left off our list of things that we grow.
That's right.
Oh yeah, how do you not grow
Right.
avocados in California?
And I read on the
That's awesome.
website, are you in the process of expanding the avocados, or that's already happened?
Avocados are in the process of being expanded in the city of Riverside.
Yeah.
And that has to do with the HLB virus that's threatening the citrus in California.
Yeah.
So kind of the outer areas where we farm in Kern County and Coachella are pretty remote from a lot of the urban farmers, which are not treating for the HLB virus. And so you're finding a lot more of the virus in the bigger city areas like Riverside. And so the threat is if they come in, they can wipe out a grove in a matter of years. So the outer areas, like I say, like Coachella and Kern, that's pretty safe right now from the HLB. So we're slowly kind of moving a lot of the citrus in Riverside to avocados.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And do avocados have a similar like 4-year kind of growth cycle?
Pretty similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty similar. So
That's really cool. Yeah, we featured Jennifer Gamble, who's a real estate agent in. We also do a real estate magazine that goes out to the top 500
Right.
realtors in the
We
Inland
saw
Empire.
that earlier.
So we featured her in that, and she took on a project to replace the light that was next to the parent navel orange tree in downtown Riverside. So we learned about the parent. Like, I mean, I had obviously driven past it growing up in Riverside a million times, but didn't really know about it. So it was interesting to see that they have it. That's why they have it tinted.
you have it in its little cage, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
To keep the HLB away, the silt away.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, and that's just happened just this last year, yeah? Because when we moved back last year, it was exposed.
You know, I don't know how long it's been there.
But that's about
couple
right.
years,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
a couple years. It's just like I say, it's just starting to come to Riverside right now. They're starting to find it more and more. There's certain areas of like Los Angeles County and Orange County where it's pretty prevalent. We've been pretty fortunate in Riverside, but it's getting here now.
Yeah.
So
And have they figured out what to do about it? How to treat
No.
it? Or
no,
They're working
It's
on
like devastating.
They're working on it.
resistant rootstocks,
yeah.
which again though means replanting groves.
Yeah.
They also, to be proactive about finding it, they're training dogs to actually
Oh wow.
sniff
Because
it
they
out.
can smell.
Yeah, but they're working. The university's working on it.
Yeah.
There's a lot being done to try to save the industry in California, obviously.
Yeah.
Do they know where or how it started?
I know where it started in the United States, and from there I don't know. But I mean, it started essentially in Florida, which wiped out about 70%.
Yeah, it hit Texas really hard as well.
About 70% of the citrus in Florida was wiped out by it.
Wow.
And
So
how
I
long
guess-
ago was that?
That's in the last 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what Florida, no one treated in Florida. They didn't
Yeah.
really. It was kind of new, and so the rest of the states are kind of learning from.
I was gonna
from
say,
their mistakes.
We're fortunate that it didn't start here, so we're not.
Yeah, and it's made its way into Texas, and they were a little behind, and they lost a pretty good chunk in Texas. But now as it's getting here, we're learning at least how to, not necessarily resolve any issues, but at least mitigate any
mitigate it.
damages. Yeah.
Have they recovered it all in Florida? Is it still there, or is it?
Can they
The-
regrow?
The replant.
Just
Yeah.
replant.
Yeah.
Just start over.
Start over, but it's still prevalent there. So
Yeah.
now,
So they're still just fighting it, basically.
still fighting it, correct?
And how is it transmitted? Bugs?
Bugs.
Yeah.
Essentially bugs.
Yeah.
So bugs coming over from state to state, basically. Yeah.
Usually through travel.
Yeah, people
Fruit
Yeah,
has
bringing
been
fruit
fruit.
being brought from state to state.
transferred, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's and this is, you're getting a little out of probably my area and be one of our brothers or nephews as to the HLB, but essentially there's heavy restrictions on where fruit can move from county to county. If it goes from one
Oh,
county to another,
interesting.
Oh, wow.
it has to be, can only go with certain carriers. It has to be tarped down in certain ways. So and it has to be
They spray before they
inspected.
harvest,
They
right?
spray before you
Yeah.
harvest. Has to be washed. There's a whole lot of restrictions and regulations that,
Interesting.
like I said, fall a little out of our purview, but I know
Yeah.
enough about them to be dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, it sounds like there's so much you have to have someone that's their job.
It is,
Their-
pretty much,
Area
yeah.
of expertise.
Correct.
Wow.
And so, for the most part, what's the percentage of your crop that is sold in Riverside County versus out of Riverside County?
Oh gosh.
I honestly have no idea on that
Yeah.
one. That is a dad question.
Yeah, and so, yeah, that's true because it gets shipped worldwide.
Yeah.
So
it goes
basically,
everywhere.
we sell literally from the grove at the fruit stand.
Yeah, to the stands.
So that has to be from areas that are obviously not quarantined,
Yeah.
aren't infected. The stuff that's farmed statewide goes to multiple packing houses.
Yeah.
And then those packing houses then ship
Just kind of
them
go everywhere.
anywhere. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With your beer, what brewery did you say you partnered with?
Go ahead.
No, got this. So we get this one.
With Urail Brewery in Riverside.
Okay. Where are they at?
They are on Chicago, Spruce, right?
Yeah,
Kind of by
North
UCR.
High
That's
School,
right
yeah.
where I
Right by
grew
North
up.
High School,
Yeah.
yes.
I
Okay.
grew up on Spruce.
Yeah.
But it's
Street.
been hugely popular. So I remember we got the first batch and you'd ordered it, we picked it up, and I work at the market, so the farming isn't really, I don't have a lot of
Yeah.
knowledge. Jason's actually an attorney, it works in that capacity, so that's why we get a little sketchy on the farming aspect of this. But anyway, he has the first batch of beer delivered, and I called the brewery, I said, like, how long do I have to sell this? And he said, it'll be okay for up to a year. And
Yeah.
I think we went through that in 6 weeks?
I think it was 6
Wow.
weeks.
6 weeks.
That's so great.
So multiple flavors later, we're still.
Yeah. We're about to come out with our 6th flavor next month.
What's your favorite one?
I like the lime. Everyone
Oh,
has something
yeah.
different. It's very funny because I think
I like the
everyone
grapefruit IPA.
everyone you line up, yeah.
Oh, that sounds good too.
Yeah.
I love lime. I'll have to try that one.
Yeah. The lime ale is my favorite. You like the grapefruit.
Like the grapefruit IPA, we have a Tangerine Session IPA coming out next. So a
Oh.
little lower in alcohol than a typical IPA.
I think our original is blood orange blonde. I think that's everyone's
Oh, that sounds amazing.
everyone's favorite.
Yeah.
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 really user friendly. People
Yeah.
Yeah.
come and say,
Just
I don't drink beer,
smooth
but I
and-
love
yeah.
this beer. So, and then we have a hard seltzer coming out at the same time as
Oh,
the
wow.
Tangerine IPA. So.
That's exciting. And so does it kind of change seasonally, like whatever you're
Right now, we're
Producing.
just barely keeping up with the
Yeah.
demand.
You're like,
but
we're
we
just
make
trying to get a batch
sure-
out.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
we're definitely taxing the canning company right now because of course when bars closed,
Yeah.
there's a huge push for people, brewers that would normally be sending off kegs,
Yeah.
places to be canning. So
Yeah.
I think that's
And growlers.
growlers.
It's amazing, like, with the pandemic, there's so many things like that that you just don't think of. Like, the trickle-down effect of different businesses and industries.
Absolutely.
Like, I never thought of,
Yes.
them manufacturing and putting out kegs versus cans, and
Right.
it's just, there's so many areas that we don't even think of. It's
Or
crazy.
even packaging for some of
Mhm.
these smaller companies just to get their packaging has been a big challenge.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
So when did that start, the beer?
A year ago, right?
September
Just had our-
17th, we just had our 1 year
Yeah.
anniversary.
That's exciting.
And did you have it in any restaurants, or you guys are just selling it through
We
the
were,
market?
you were
or?
kegging, weren't you, for a while?
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting the way it all started because we originally, the idea was we would just sell it at the market and just kind of a fun thing to sell at the market.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the demand kind of took off for it. And we had several restaurants reach out to us and we had it in different restaurants. And as we started that process, everything shut down.
Yeah.
So we do have it and still in a few restaurants where they just come and get it in the cans and
Yeah.
They're selling the
They're
cans.
selling the cans
The
and
can's beautiful. The can's very appealing. People
Yeah.
enjoy the fresh
Yeah.
citrus. Pick picture of, you know,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Like,
Listen, I buy all alcohol based on the packaging.
right.
Very like experiencing with my eyes first kind of person.
You're like, that looks great.
That does. I'm usually not wrong. Like I've got a good track record. Like if I like
No,
the
packaging sells, absolutely.
if I like the
So,
packaging, I generally like.
yes,
Like I'm not generally buying the beers with like the fiery devil on it, 'cause that's too intense for me.
That usually means it's a higher alcohol content.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know my lane. I'm staying in my lane.
Yeah. So right now, there's a few restaurants or at the market where people can get the beer.
And one liquor store.
And one liquor store, La
Which one?
Bodega sells it.
Yeah.
Oh, they
Oh,
do?
cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is Dad's favorite place. So
Also
So he wanted
great
it there.
classic marketing at La Bodega.
That's so
Oh,
funny.
yeah,
I should,
great.
because I wanted to get some before.
mhm.
And so I'm like,
We
I'm
failed.
thinking, I'm like, okay,
It's
if
all good.
if there's somewhere in Riverside, you know, where would it be? But that makes sense.
It would be on my counter waiting for you.
You're like, it's in my house.
Yeah, I should have went to La Bodega. Should have known.
Have you guys seen that show Yellowstone?
I have not.
I have not either.
It totally reminds me of your family. Like they run a ranch, but like he had one kid as an attorney, and like that, just like all of the kids. It's 4 kids, and they're like all invested. I mean, they're super messed up, so that's kind of like where the
That's okay, so
Well,
are we.
similarities end. But
Yes.
it's a great show.
You may have written that show about
Yeah, I know. That's the backstory.
You guys are a girl and 3 boys.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a girl and 3 boys.
Perfect.
It's a good.
But
It's a
there's
great show.
Remarkable similarities, even though I haven't seen
Kevin
it.
Costner is the dad.
Perfect.
It's a great show.
So when you went to
We were a
school,
little bit obsessed.
yeah,
with it.
it's an incredible show. So when you went to school, was it always the plan to come back work for the business?
No, I've only been there 2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
3. Isn't it?
3 years? Been that
It's
long?
been 3.
Oh. No, I actually, being the youngest of the 4, by the time I was in high school, I went to college at UC Riverside.
Yeah.
And then I remember the story quite well. I was playing golf with my dad and his attorney, and we were coming down one of the holes, and the attorney looks at me and says, "So, what are you going to do next year when you graduate?" And it hit me that I had about 6 weeks before I graduated college. And I went,
You're like, I should maybe have a
I
plan."
don't know. I don't know.
What was your undergrad in?
Business.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do anything with
Yeah. And so my dad looks at me and goes, "Well, you're going to come work for us." And I went,
that. He's like, what do you mean you don't
"Oh,
know?
being the youngest, there's a lot of,
I'm going to law school.
yeah."
You're like,
And
I'm
the-
going to spread my wings and
And
fly.
the attorney looked at me and he goes, "You should go to law school." I think
You
I'm going to go to
really
law
never
school.
thought about that?
Yeah, I'm going to go to law
No,
school.
I didn't know that.
And
That's amazing.
about 8 weeks later, I applied. It was too late to apply to any law schools, but I
Yeah.
applied late. There was 3 law schools that would take my application, and about 3 weeks later, I was actually in the
Packing
car
up the
packing up
U-Haul
my
in the
no, I was packing up my
driveway? Oh.
golf clubs to go to a tournament in Arizona with a bunch of guys that I played golf with in college, and the phone rings. My mom comes out. She goes, "There's a school on the line that wants to talk to you." I'm like, "Huh?" So I go in and I take the phone call, and they're like, "Yeah, it was McGeorge Law School in Sacramento." And they said, "Well, we'll take you if you have the certain score on your LSAT test."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, I do."
Yeah.
And this is back in the day. They said, "We don't have it yet. Can you fax it to us?"
You
So
get to golf it.
So I faxed it to them. Meanwhile, everyone's waiting for me in the
Yeah.
in the garage. About 15 minutes later, the lady calls back and says, "We start on Monday."
Oh my gosh.
And this was, I think,
I didn't know this.
yeah, this was a Thursday. So I'm panicking, going, "Guys, I'm unloading the car slowly. I think I'm moving to Sacramento." That night, I called a friend of mine from undergrad whose girlfriend was going to the same law school, and they said, "Can I get her number? I need to find somewhere to live. I don't even know where
Yeah.
to go." So I called her, and she says, "Well, I couldn't find a 1-bedroom. I have a 2-bedroom. You can have the other
Oh
bedroom."
my gosh.
And
Like meant to be.
On Sunday, so now 48 hours later, I'm packing everything and my dog in the car, and we went to law school.
You're like, here I am.
I showed up
I
having
didn't know
no
that. That's
clue.
funny.
Never-
It's like Elwood's. Did you ever see Legally Blonde? Probably
yes,
not.
I have.
But
Seen everything.
when she gets into Harvard and she's there and he's like, you go to Harvard
Yeah.
Law School? And she's like, what? Like it's hard? Like I just decided to go to law school in a weekend.
Right?
There you go.
Off you go.
You're exactly
Same
like
thing,
her.
right?
Yeah.
And had you
I didn't go to
exactly like
Harvard,
her?
but
Had you already taken the LSAT, or in that time frame you?
So I had to actually move finals to take the LSAT.
Oh my gosh.
And the professor let me move it, and I told him this is a last minute thing.
And had you like people study for the LSAT for like
I bought a book.
a long time?
I actually went to the old Riverside Plaza to B. Dalton and bought a book.
That's amazing.
It's
And
Jason's
read the
claim to
book.
fame. He's a quick study.
Yeah.
So I read the book and took the LSAT, and it was all probably, this all happened in a period of about 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh my gosh. That's
So-
such like the best story. So you go to law school, you graduate,
Graduated,
and then
came back to Riverside, worked at a firm there,
Yeah.
and then ultimately joined a firm in Rancho Cucamonga and started an office from that firm in Riverside and managed that. That was about a 300 attorney firm.
Wow.
And I had just at the office in Riverside for about 15, 16 years.
wow.
And then one day got a call from Mom saying, "You're coming here full time now.
Yeah.
We need you here."
So we're back. We had a little technical
difficulties.
difficulty with the batteries, but we were talking about curbside. So you guys instituted that
Like right as the
Right
pandemic
as
was
the-
hitting.
We actually launched
right
it.
before.
We launched it the day that they announced the quarantine.
That's amazing.
So it was, the timing on it worked really well for everyone.
Yeah.
Well, that was
someone
like-
a little ahead of the game there.
When we talked to Brian with Delia's, they had not quite. They didn't cut it quite that close, but they had just started their online ordering,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like not
Yeah.
too long before that, which was, I think, a huge lifesaver.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're able to provide a great service for people who maybe it would be
Right.
difficult for them to shop
Well,
elsewhere.
and also have to think back to how afraid everybody was. I mean,
Yeah.
people are getting a little braver now, a little more comfortable going out to the grocery store.
Yeah. Well, I think what we know about like the fomite transfer of like what you're getting when you touch something versus how dangerous it is airborne. We just didn't know, like
Right.
there was that period of time in the like I have such vivid memories of like, hand sanitizing and wiping my steering wheel.
Oh, my daughter is sanitizing everything that came to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Like, here, you have at it.
Yeah. It's funny.
Sanitize away.
I have this like infectious disease person that I follow on Instagram that she's working on one of the vaccines. I think it's the Moderna vaccine that she's working on, and people like send her questions and ask her questions, and somebody asked the question like, all these stores are like sanitizing, like do I need to be doing that in my home, like where are we at with this? And she's like, the sanitizing is a little bit of theater that we can't, there's not really much that we can do outside of wearing
Makes you
masks.
feel good,
Yeah,
though.
but it makes you feel better. But yeah, in the beginning it was just like this
Well, and
terrifying
it
space.
was really important. It was important to our customers. They
Yeah.
were curious about that.
Yeah.
Luckily, we had Jason doing the research daily. I don't know.
Well, you mean just what we need to
keep
do
the
to keep things
protocols and
going?
change,
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah, by the hour
Oh,
for a while
literally.
Well,
Yeah.
and simultaneously at different points, different messages were going out too from different places.
Right.
Yeah.
That was hard to keep track of what we needed to do to stay open.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
had an incredible staff that just jumped in and did whatever was asked.
That's so great.
Yeah.
So what are your guys' hours right now for the market?
We are open 8 to 6 every day.
7 days a week, 8 to 6.
This week we close on, I don't know what, Christmas,
Thanksgiving and New Year's.
Thanksgiving.
And Easter,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there's 4.
Yeah.
That lime
Wow.
one you mentioned, what's it called?
Riverside Lime Ale.
Okay.
Yeah, so we started with the blood orange blonde,
Yeah.
and then the ruby red grapefruit IPA, and then
Coachella
Oh, I
lemon.
bet that's good.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
yeah, we have the Coachella
I
lemon.
love the lemon. That's great.
I love
Ah.
lemon everything.
Yeah.
Like I'm all about
Yeah.
the lemon. Do you guys grow Meyer lemons?
We do.
Yeah. I mean, I know they're seasonal.
Yeah, yeah. No, Meyer lemons are amazing. That actually
So
is
good.
nice.
She makes lemon bars with the Meyer lemon. It's like
Yeah.
Oh, they're so
Completely different flavor.
It
right?
almost
They're-
tastes like a flower. Like the only
Yeah.
way I can describe it is like it tastes like a flower.
No,
with
they're incredible.
Smell. They're so good.
Incredible flavor. So.
Yeah.
And then what's this next one? Is the Tangerine IPA and orange
We have
hard seltzer.
it's the Tangerine Sweetie IPA.
Sweeties. Yes.
So
Oh,
it's like
nice.
a IPA light, a little bit.
Session IPA
Yeah.
is a lower alcohol content IPA
Yeah.
because a lot of people don't want. I mean,
Yeah.
they can
It's
be
intense.
double or more on
Right.
alcohol content. So if you want to enjoy drinking over a sustained period of time,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's two
Not
schools
be
of thought though. Some people like
completely
the
wasted,
IPA
yeah.
because of the high alcohol content. But
Right.
So anyway, just a new little avenue to do the session IPA.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
I went golfing with my brother one time, and we should have been drinking probably the second.
The second idea.
Right.
Although you might, depending on what kind of golfer you are, you might have had more fun if you had the
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
That there was an excessive amount of fun had on that golf.
Yeah.
It,
We
you
didn't
guys could have
quite
been
realize
drinking
what
Coors
we
Light
were
that
drinking.
day. Yeah. Yeah. It was, and hot.
Yeah. It was a golf charity tournament too, which made it even more interesting.
Was that the? I think that was the one where your brother like rolled
He
out
fell
of
out,
a
yeah.
golf cart down a hill.
Probably it's not I see it as a benefit. It's probably not, but I can be pretty intoxicated and nobody would know. Like I can
Other than
handle
me.
it.
Yeah.
Well, you
really
can
well.
drink through the whole. We'll do a big 6-pack for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can go
But my
all the way
brother-
through.
Through it.
My brother, we call him Drunk Uncle. There was a SNL character, Drunk Uncle. If you ever saw it. It's all over his face when he's.
I know our kids are always like, "Oh, drunk uncle is
Yeah.
out."
Yeah, so he fell out of the cart.
he rolled out, literally rolled out of a golf
Yeah.
cart.
Did you guys already have a relationship with that brewery, or what was that process like in partnering with them?
Well,
You know.
no.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, well, yeah. So we had been approached by another brewing company to use some fruit from one of our groves that they wanted a specific thing, and basically we were going to work with them, and then we got their demands on what they were going to do and how they wanted it delivered, and then a checklist of things we had to do to be part of their group, and we're
Yeah.
like, well, you called us, and we're just kind of helping you out,
Yeah.
and no, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then about a month later, we went, why don't we just make our own?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the idea got started. And I had no idea where to turn, so I talked to you.
Yeah, and so John, the brewer and the owner of your rail, I had known his wife since we moved to Riverside in 1976.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Family friend of my mom's
Yeah.
daughter. And so we said, hey, you guys brew great beer. We want to do our own, put our label on it. And so Jason worked with them to get everything in place so we had, I don't know, what is it, rights to the label. It's our label.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our beers. And they hit it out of the park. They're doing a great job. They
That sounds
did
like
what
a
we wanted.
Perfect partnership.
And
Yeah, they kind of work with us on the formula as to what we want, how fruity we want it,
Yeah.
everything. So
Which one is the fruitiest?
I think it's the new Orange Crest Wheat Ale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's got the most orange flavor to it.
Yeah.
It's really interesting though, because it kind of depends. Everybody has a different favorite for a
Yeah.
different reason.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the fun part about food and
Yeah.
drinks and everything. Is like you think, well, I don't like this. And I finally learned to say that's not. You don't say
Yeah.
it's not good.
It's
You
not
say
my
it's not my
favorite.
preference. And
Yeah.
someone else can be like, it's the best beer I've ever had.
Yeah.
So
Do they have a tap room there or no?
they do have
They
a
do.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, they do nice little events down there. They're doing them outside right now. And
Okay.
so they bring in a food truck so they can actually serve. Right now, you have to just kind of knock on the door, run in, and grab your to-go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To their tap room. Well, unless it's changed this week.
Oh, yeah,
They've
it might
posted
be.
on-
I don't know, may have.
I don't know.
We're
they-
all in uncharted waters.
Excuse me. Do they usually have some of yours on tap?
They don't right now.
Yeah.
Because you guys are just going straight to the can,
We
generally.
just haven't been able to keep up with demand, so we
Yeah.
haven't really.
Yeah, it's mostly like you say, it just goes right to the can and
Yeah.
Yeah.
goes from there.
Do they? Where's the packaging? Do they do it, or you have a?
They do it right there.
They do it right there.
They
Wow.
have a mobile canning company that comes in and
That's so great.
it's all up right in the
Really
back of
fun
the
to
brewery.
watch.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really neat.
Good turnout to watch each time.
We'll have to have them on the podcast and.
That'd be great.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
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 And he's wonderful. Don does a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows his stuff.
The
He really does. Sharp
Yeah.
guy.
brewing is very much like photography in that it's like a little bit of art, a little bit of science, like all
And meticulous.
coming
record
together,
keeping,
yeah.
Because you gotta recreate.
yeah.
It's like that was great. I don't know how we did it.
Yeah,
but
I would not be a good.
No, a good brewer. They have
Yeah.
their Bible,
Yeah,
right?
I would not be a good brewer because every time I make something, I'm like, I don't know. I just like threw some
It's like
stuff
how you
in.
cook, you just
Yeah,
shake
that
it.
when I cook, I'm just like, who knows? He's like, what did you do to make? I'm like, it will never be the same again. So I hope you enjoy it. This
That's
time.
your cookies. They're usually
They're a little
always
different
good, but they're
every
always a little
time.
different.
Yeah, it's true.
That's crazy though. The story of golfing that day with your dad. Have you ever thought like your life could have went in a different direction depending on who your dad was golfing with that
Oh,
day?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
Could-
Every day you go, what happened?
What if he would have
You
been?
could be farming in Bakersfield.
I could be farming
Yeah.
in Bakersfield. Yeah, because I met my wife in law school.
Yeah.
And yeah, even that you go, because she got a job in Northern California after law school. I was down here.
Yeah.
And it was like whoever gets a job in the first city goes next, and we either go NorCal or we stay here.
Yeah.
So.
If your dad would have been golfing like with the veterinarian that day, and then he said, "You should
You're
become a
right.
vet."
Yeah, it was pretty much that. It was that spur of the moment where I'm going. I don't remember. It was.
Yeah.
The guy's name was Charles, and Charles goes, "You should do it. You can just screw around for 3 more years." And I'm like, "Screw around for 3 more. This is great."
Yeah.
And then the first week of law school, I'm going, "Oh my!"
You're like, what
God.
have I done?
It was brutal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're going, "This is not screwing around. There's no golf in the
Yeah.
future here."
Yeah, that law school is hard.
Golf clubs got put away for a year plus, and you're going,
Yeah,
"It was
what?
tough."
Like it's hard?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was the right fit for you. I mean, obviously if I would have been golfing there that day, that wouldn't have worked out well for me. But I'm sure the experience you've had been able to bring over has been beneficial.
Hugely beneficial to us as a company. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's the one unique thing is that everyone does offer something very, very unique and different.
Yeah.
Everyone's in the business of doing something kind of really unique and different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially managing 300 lawyers, like that's like a
I didn't
skill
manage
set.
300 lawyers.
Oh, okay. I was
our
gonna say,
firm
that's
was
its own
about
skill
300
set.
lawyers, and so I had an office of about 12 in Riverside.
Yeah.
So
Still.
Managing 12 lawyers is a skill set probably in and of itself.
it's fun.
It's
different. I don't know.
It's different.
It's different.
It's like we have 6 kids, and I was like, yeah,
Same thing.
it's a circus.
So is the plan once you're able to have that market again to continue to do that?
To do what?
The
I'm sorry.
craft.
The craft.
The
The
craft
craft
fair on
market?
the
Yeah.
patio.
I think that we've had a lot of our craft vendors reach out to us, but I think that we're kind of at the point where we're going. I don't know that we want to bring that many people
Yeah.
in right now.
Yeah, I think
you
what
know.
we'll do is pop-up shops, invite them in
Yeah.
to set up for the weekend, because we have a beautiful space. We
Yeah.
love to share it, and so we just let them come in and set up their little shops outside. And I
Yeah.
think maybe we'll do 2, 3 at a time.
Yeah,
That's smart.
Because we need to be respectful of people that still need.
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
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 And what other products, like if someone went into the market, what are they mostly going to see? What other products are in there?
What's your favorites?
Besides the citrus. Oh my gosh. Well, right now we basically have anything you would need from a grocery store. You can go in and get some fresh Kobe beef and brioche hamburger rolls and make
Yeah.
it. We have Nyman Ranch pork products, also a California vendor. We have olive oils and vinegars from Northern California.
That's cool.
We also have regular groceries. During the pandemic, we reacted to what anybody needed. I
Yeah.
think at the start of that, when we were deemed an essential business,
Yeah.
there was a big sense of responsibility. Like, what do we need? And I think we took every single suggestion, what people needed at the time, and we sourced it
Yeah.
within 24 hours. And so a lot of that we've kind of learned along the way. So we're still kind of providing a neighborhood market experience
Yeah.
with a lot of elevated products, a lot of little bakers, home bakeries, things like that have their licenses.
Yeah.
So some really fun, exciting products like that.
Yeah, there was a
Stuff
Google
you can't
review
get
that I
there.
read the other day. It said it's like a mini Trader Joe's, and it's
Okay.
kind of
That's great.
It's kind of what we see it as. I mean, obviously we're
Yeah.
not near the size, but you can get dried fruits and nuts, all your fresh produce, along with our citrus. We have all fresh produce. We've got all kinds of snacks, chips, salsas, you name it.
But really unique stuff that's made
Milk.
for
Yeah,
us.
a little off the beaten
Yeah.
path.
Yeah.
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 Is there a long-term vision to expand that and grow that?
No.
No.
You're like,
I
this
think we're
is the
good right now.
footprint.
Yeah.
Good.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We're good. We still also have the old school little fruit stand down by the Citrus Park too.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
There's a second market, but
Yeah.
no, because I think we're really just farmers at heart for the most part. But this store is a lot of fun, and we enjoy it a lot.
Yeah. Do you have 3rd generation kids working actively in the business?
We do.
To that.
Yeah.
My nephew farms.
Yeah.
Another John, and Jason's kids are
Yeah. The
for taking
entrepreneurs.
products. My kids had to work through high school, but then they got launched in other
Yeah.
careers.
They're flying
So,
away right now.
yeah, yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
What do you think it was about? I mean, think of your parents starting that, back in the late 50s, and life and all of the ups and downs I'm sure they had to go through to get to the point now where it's a successful, obviously, thriving business with a great reputation. And what do you think it was about your parents that allowed them to survive? Like I said, I'm sure all the
Most incredible
difficulties they
work
went
ethic
through.
I've ever seen in anybody. Both
Yeah.
of them, don't you think?
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you work 24 hours a day. If somebody needs you,
Yeah.
phone rings at midnight, you answer it.
Yeah.
So I think definitely their work ethic.
Yeah, I think the hardest part about being a lawyer and working with my dad is that everything's on a handshake.
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore.
You're like, Dad.
Yeah, he built his reputation on his word was his bond.
Oh, and his
Yeah.
word still to this day. He's just an incredible person. Both my parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very fortunate.
Yeah, I think those two things are whatever business it is or whatever industry, it's your work ethic and your integrity.
Yeah,
And
sure.
because I mean, growing up in Riverside and obviously here in Gless Ranch all the time, but for me personally, it's always been a very positive association, to the name and to the company. So I can see those two things. My grandfather married for Knott's Berry Farm is Mr. Knott's, or no, his
sister.
His sister married Mr. Knott's grandson, and so I grew up hearing the story of him creating the boysenberry, and then his
Yeah.
wife would make chicken dinners and start making pies out of the boysenberry.
That's so cool.
And
So my grandfather, speaking of handshakes,
Yeah.
he did the tile work. He was a tile contractor, and there's a famous story about shaking Walter Knott's hand. That was the contract at the time.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, but I grew up with that, and my grandfather, which I was super close to, very much is from that world of you just work hard 24/7 and
Yep.
you're honest and
Put your head down and get it done.
yeah. But I love those stories. That's growing up where she starts making pies with the
That's
boysenberries, and then they set up a stand to start selling it, and then he was like, we should probably start entertaining people, and built like the ghost town, and
Oh, really?
turned in that was kind of the start of it, because they had these lines, people getting these pies. It started
nothing to do.
It started with just the pies, and then she's like, these lines are so long, I should feed people, so she started making chicken dinners.
Incredible.
And then he thought we should probably entertain them while so many people are coming, and created the ghost town, and it kind of took off from there.
And this ghost town, they took a lot of that out. They really renovated.
Yeah.
I wonder if any part of that is open current, because none of the amusement parks are open at all, but like downtown Disney is open. I wonder if they're selling any food at Knott's Berry Farm.
I imagine the restaurant's probably open.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, because
It's such a weird world.
Yeah.
right now,
Right.
where
I think
you're
my
like,
mom-
Is Disneyland open? Like, where are we?
I think my mom, because that grandfather I talked about, he passed just before COVID, and so we haven't been able to have a funeral, and so we're doing something on the 24th. But my mom, I think she's thinking about having a family get together after their
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so refreshing to hear, especially in the climate we live in now. And like I said, we have 6 kids, and I often wish that I could have transported my kids back into a different day of it's so hard in the culture we live in to really instill that work ethic in kids and give them those opportunities. But I'm sure with you guys having the farm, it's been a unique opportunity to kind of expose your kids
Absolutely.
to that.
They've all had to work.
Yeah.
We employ a lot of students still, a lot of high school and college students.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Great group of people working with us, and
Yeah.
So in Riverside, like with the actual farming itself, how many people do you think are involved in that day to day in that process?
In Riverside alone,
Yeah.
it's somewhere around 50 maybe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
give or take. It's seasonal too, so
Right.
it goes up and down depending on what's happening. But probably Riverside alone is about 50 core people.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming out, and I can't wait to try some of those beers.
They're on my counter. I'll bring that down. It's my fault. Sorry.
So
Nice.
Monday through 7 days a week,
7
8 to
days
6.
a week, 8 to 6.
8 to 6. Yep. Thanks again so much.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. You still can.
There's still time. I love those black and white